More of thee, less of me. Oh, what a good way to live life. Isn't that fun? That's going to be fun. You know it'll be on the video. Here goes Frank. Thank you all. I love our music. Well, we read in Acts 7:33. Take off the sandals from your feet, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. Did you think of that yet today? The place where you are standing, the place where you are sitting right this minute is holy ground. What a wonderful way to go through our day, to recognize that we are living and moving and having our being in the holy expression of God's life. It's not usually the way people wake up and jump out of bed, not like Charles Fillmore, he and Myrtle, who began the unity tradition. And you've heard this before. He would, at 94, I think he would say, how did that start again? What? I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm as I spring forth with a mighty faith to do the things that can only be done by me. You didn't do that this morning, but you'll have an opportunity tomorrow morning. But to awaken each day in the realization that where we sit, where we lie, where we stand, where we walk, where we play, where we run, where we work, is sacred. It is holy. Everything is sacred. Every moment is holy. So let's remove the covering of limited perspectives and see rightly, removing the sandals from our feet. You know, your feet represent your understanding. Understanding, got it? So you take off your sandals and you have removed the limited perceptions and the small understanding, and you are ready to receive a greater wisdom and a greater awareness. And that's what we're in the process of doing all the time. That's our human spiritual evolution. We're in this beautiful evolutionary process, each in his own way, her own way, each one awakening to the truth of our being in our own time and on our own path. And this is such a wonderful time to be celebrating everybody's path to the divine. You know, it's a beautiful thing to imagine this mountain where we're all walking up on our own paths, and as we're all going to the same place and waving at each other on the way. That's a beautiful realization that there's one life, God's life. It's the only life there is to have or to be, and we were created from that one life. And having been created from that one life, we go back to in the beginning. Enarche, en hologos, kai hologos, enarche. In the beginning was God, and in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word is God. So imagine this one infinite primordial source, this infinite intelligence and divine love. No creation yet. Just imagine this. This is a good exercise for us to do from time to time. To just imagine this unformed something pulsating with aliveness, bursting with creativity, and the self-contemplation of spirit, which is how everything came into being, brought forth the most marvelous creation and continues to do so. The word, the logos, the idea, the spiritual prototype, the mental image, the infinite mind of God began creating out of itself, needing to express itself in form for the joy of aliveness and creativity, and having reflected back to this one, the beautiful expression of itself. The word, universes, planetary systems, Big Bang, whatever took place in various areas of the cosmos, and our earth and water and land and plants and animals and trees and humans, and all for the joyous satisfaction of the master creator's delightful expression of life. From that came you and me. Do you realize that you were created from sacred stuff? Do you realize that everywhere you are is holy because you came forth and continue to be loved and nurtured and motivated and expressing in such a beautiful way from that sense of unity, the unity of all life? You see how everything came forth from this great spirit. See that it is sacred, that you are sacred. Do you think of yourselves as sacred? Usually, people think of themselves as a part. And as Jim so brilliantly sang earlier, more of thee, less of me, because it's the ego self that gets in the way, isn't it? I'd like to allow my ego self to become so transparent that spirit can shine through it. And I can remember all the time, or at least a lot of the time, that this great spirit is who I am. Individualized as me, it's like if you ask the ocean, maybe, and let's anthropomorphize the ocean for a moment, and imagine taking a drop of ocean and having it in your hand. You would ask what it is. It wouldn't say, I'm a little drop of ocean. It will simply say, I am ocean, because it knows what it's made of. Do you get it? Let's know what we're made of. We're made of the divine, intelligent, loving life itself, which most of us call God. There are many other words: infinite intelligence, divine love, the great spirit. It doesn't matter what the name is. The very ground we walk on is holy ground. So it's time we develop the greater sight by dropping those sandals and developing a deeper understanding. And it's what some of our students call wearing God goggles. When you're looking through God goggles, you're seeing as God sees. Because remember, God said, oh, it's good, very good, with all creation. And God never changed its mind about that. It's good. And no matter what has taken place in a person's life, no matter what mistakes they may have made, no matter what terrible errors they may have committed, there's still that basic goodness, because everybody is made out of the one life. And somewhere within is that God seed. And we're in the process of developing it. We've been called little godlings. We're growing up. We're becoming aware. We're part of God. We're individualized expressions of this one beautiful life, which is why everywhere we look, everybody that we perceive is a part of that loving life. It's time we develop this sanctified sight. And when we look, when we perceive, we go beyond the judgments and we say, it's good. It's good, because I'm willing to behold the presence of the Christ within each person I see. I am willing and able to see something beyond what they themselves might even believe about themselves. We can behold the extraordinary within the ordinary. You know, the Jesuits are very good at this. How many of you grew up taking classes in the, I understand that. You got a good education. And besides that, they're deeply connected to the divine. We want to stop judging erroneously. And the Ignatian spirituality from St. Ignatius, which the Jesuits follow, is 5 ways to find God in all things. And I'd like to share this with you now. Okay. Finding God in all things is a big part of Ignatian spirituality. But finding God in the boring parts of life is easier said than done. Here are 5 ways to find God in all things. Micro-awareness. This is not just trying to be aware of the present moment, but rather letting each small action you take become your primary purpose in the moment. If you let something as simple as pushing the power button on your computer or walking up the stairs be done with intention and awareness, rather than letting routine get the best of you, You'll find a new holiness in those mundane tasks. The second one is journal. I point to Frank, he teaches this. Writing down the experiences of your day, as well as the thoughts and feelings, is a kind of examen, but oftentimes the act of writing uncovers unseen moments of God's presence you may initially have missed. The third is do something the old-fashioned way. Technology and fast expectations can often close the door on our awareness of God. For a change, walk to someone's desk instead of calling. Handwrite a letter instead of emailing. Walk to the store instead of driving. Or take the train instead of flying. Next time. The change of pace may give you a more meaningful interaction or experience, and slowing down lets you acknowledge God's presence more easily. The fourth is listen. When was the last time you really listened to someone without trying to think of what to say next? Oh, that's a good question. You'll be surprised what you hear if you actually listen to a friend, to the natural sounds around you. Try turning off the radio when you drive. Or to your own conscience. God speaks when we pause long enough to listen. And the fifth is, say, God is here. This idea comes from a UCC pastor. She says, practice saying, God is here, the next time you are assaulted by your neighbors quarreling, see someone carelessly toss trash from a car, get drenched in an unexpected rainstorm or snowstorm, I hear that's going to be Wednesday, or bite into a mealy and tasteless apple. And you can simply stop and say, God is here. Would that change your perception, do you think? God is here. It immediately awakens us to the truth that there is this loving, powerful presence within and all around us at all times. And no matter what kind of condition may be going on, or what we may have just experienced, or what we may have heard, we can instantly say, God is here. And it sweetens everything. And it opens our heart to the truth that there is a loving presence that is always, always present. This is a holy moment, but we have forgotten for a little while to enter into it. And we can remember. From his own experience, St. Francis of Assisi learned that the deeper lessons of God came when one embraced all things, even that which doesn't seem beautiful. Sometimes saying God is here is the best way to snap into an awareness. It's sort of like snap out of the other thing and snap into an awareness that God dwells not just within you, but alongside you every moment, mundane or grand. Wow. So we want to stop judging erroneously. That's the best way to step into the holiness of this river that we're flowing through. Stop judging, stop criticizing, and instead say, God is here. Listen to the sweet song that someone is trying to share with you. Listen to a 3-year-old. You know how they... Do you know what a joy it is to listen to that 3-year-old? To be patient enough to really open your heart and hear what she has to say and tell her how wonderful she is. It's good for both of you, and it invites the beautiful presence of God to come forth. The divine is alive in everything. Even the trees that have shed their leaves, and aren't we glad they did, because they reminded us to shed the judgments. They reminded us to let go of past resentments. They reminded us that life is always making itself fresh and new in all nature, including within us. And now most of them are bare except for the evergreens. And we have one in our living room now. It's the season. And they are ready to be appearing to be dormant. Seems like there's no life in those trees. Oh, but there is, isn't there? And they will prove that come spring, when these gorgeous blossoms come. The seasons of life, the seasons of our heart are all so beautiful. Let's flow with them. And we flow with the seasons of life and the seasons of our heart ever so easily when we allow grace. Grace to be in our lives. And that means remembering the presence that's within and all around us, and that everything is sacred. Well, you know my motto, don't you? Everything is sacred, and nothing is serious. That's a wonderful way to live our lives. And so, when we know that the divine is alive within everything and everyone, we also know that it's a very important element of each person's pathway to the divine, which is why here comes the plug, here comes the commercial. Saturday, December 21st, come to the solstice. We will be celebrating so many pathways to God. The music is going to be over the top, absolutely marvelous, and the representatives from so many different faith traditions will be sharing their own authentic paths at the same time that we recognize our unity. We realize that these holy days are holy for everybody. That there are holy days for the Hindu, holy days for the Buddhist. Coming up, holy days, Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa. These are all precious, and they all have wonderful, wonderful gifts and lessons for us all. We can listen and learn and find that there's something beautiful and of great value in every faith tradition. When we share with our beloved friends in our interfaith community here in our mainline ministerium, we learn, and we learned even more deeply to love each other and to appreciate each other. It was such a joy to me the other day. One of our beloved pastors, Lutheran pastor, experienced a stroke a couple of months ago, and her spiritual co-partner in her center is going to be one of the presenters here for our solstice. And I knew she wasn't going to be coming back until probably February, and I walked into Trader Joe's the other day, and she was coming out. What a delight, what a joy it was. My heart was so happy to see beloved Pastor Sue looking fabulous and saying, "This was my first day out driving, and I came to Gateway." I said, "I'll pray for you." But to experience the total, authentic love that we have for one another is one of the most precious things that Reverend Mike and I experience. So wonderful. And she said, I said, Reverend Matt is really, Pastor Matt is taking care of everything for you right now. She said, I know. I said, it's good for him. And he'll be here for solstice. And I said, he said, you'll be back doing your regular duties by February. And she said, no, January. Well, it's wonderful to feel so connected with people who are on their own authentic paths, and to realize that we are all walking on holy ground in this sacred life that we're living. So let's honor each other. Let's celebrate the life that's ours to live, and celebrate it with joy, because joy is one of the attributes of God, isn't it? The 7 substantive attributes of God are life, light, love, peace, power, beauty, and joy. And joy is absolutely an attribute of God that I know God experiences in the creative activity that takes place that we get to participate in. We were created to be co-creators. And how do we co-create? By keeping our mind focused on the good. Keeping our thoughts in heaven, not allowing ourselves to go into this false sense of being separate from God, being separate from our good, but experiencing the oneness with the essence of love and with one another, and allowing the joy of creativity to take place. We start with planting the seeds in our own creative minds, which are part of infinite mind. And we bring forth that which we sow in our infinite creative soil. So let's take the veil off the human judgment. Let's stop seeing people as different. Oh, different is fine, actually, but let's not see them as scary. Let's see one another as the beloved expressions of the one life that each one is, infused with divinity, our humanity infused with divinity. We want to behold the holy in everything and the sacred in every moment and in every being we encounter. That's your growth assignment for the month, is to behold the holy within every human being you see. And it's possible. And what happens is that we benefit, and the person we're exchanging our energies or our words or our thoughts with, they benefit as well. We're here to make a difference in our world. One of the main things we're here about is to co-create a world that works for all. And that's how we do our important part. And as we do, we make our own lives work better too. So will you say with me, I perceive the sacred within the secular. I allow divine love to show itself through me in holy activity. And so, my beloveds, beginneth our lesson. Thank you.